You are listening to the Project Management Podcast. We bring project management topics to beginners and experts. Find us on the web at pmpodcast.blogspot.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. Hello and welcome to show number 24. I am Cornelius Fischner. This is the Project Management Podcast for the 18th of March 2006. Today, I have to ask you, what do you do with a project manager who doesn't deliver when he promises deliverables? Well, because once again, I have not been able to sit down with the interview partners that I promised. So this means that today we're not going to hear about the exciting C-17 project from Boeing, nor do we hear about the Sarbanes-Oxley. And I also don't have the interview on the turnaround project management. Instead, we will be talking about trends in project management offices. Let's get started. This episode of the Project Management Podcast is sponsored by Entiplicity Project Management Solutions. Project management is not just about the software. Whether you are a small operation or a large corporation, value-added project management must be based on scalable technology, solid processes, and strategic thinking. Learn more about better strategic project management and your organization. Visit www.weneedpm.com. One thing I wanted to know from you, my dear listener, is how did you like the fast track last week? I didn't have time to produce a full-length show, so what I did is just create a quick fast track 1, as I call it, 8 or 9 minute long show, to give you at least a little bit of project management podcast here every week. Well, why don't you write me a quick email and tell me whether you liked it, yes or no. Would appreciate to hear whether I can continue to do that in the future or whether you just want me to, skip a week if you don't have a real 1 hour show to produce here. Then another question I have for you. I have statistics that show that 10% of the visitors to my website, pmpodcast.blogspot.com, are coming to me from my.monster.com. But I've checked my.monster.com. I just can't seem to find where on my.monster.com there is a link to my website. It's very intriguing. So if you're one of those website visitors who first was at monster.com and then went over to me, I'd appreciate it if you told me where on earth they have a link to me. It's puzzling, to say the least. And finally, I also wanted to ask you once again, if you really like the show, please log on to iTunes, find this show, and leave some feedback there so that other people know that this is a good show. Highly appreciated. Alright, and now let's move on to some listener feedback that I got this week. First of all, I want to say thank you to Gregory Simarusti. Gregory came up to me this week at the PMIOC's dinner meeting, and he told me that he enjoys the show, he listens to it every week, and then he whipped out his iPod and he showed me every single episode I had ever produced, which he had downloaded. Amazing! He just made my week. I am absolutely ecstatic about that particular meeting right there and then. Well, and then he handed me his business card, and his business card reads Director of Program Management. And that got me thinking, I haven't done a show on PMOs on a long time. And after all, PMOs are kind of my passion, so today I decided, since I don't have any of the interviews ready, to do a PMO show for you. Second, I wanted to read some feedback to you that I got from Patrick Richard. His feedback comes to us as a follow-up on show number 22, when I interviewed Dale Brown on how to become a PMP. And Patrick, in this email here, gives us his experience on what happened to him and how he became his path to the PMP. All right. He writes, early in 2005, I decided to get PMP certified. I originally planned to get trained by the Montreal chapter of PMI, but a number of factors conspired against that approach. And he lists several factors why he was unable to do so. The seminar was full, he was shipped out and he's a consultant. All right. Then he continues. Since I really wanted to get certified, I decided to look into alternative approaches and settled on e-learning with an outfit called pmcampus.com. Never heard of them before myself here. Their service grants access for 3 months to practice exams and condensed notes. There are 15 modules and 3 practice exams. Each module also has 3 associated mini-exams, and the completion of each module grants you contact hours. And those of you who don't know, a little aside here, the contact hours, you have to prove to the PMI that you have been trained as a project manager, and as you go through PMP workshops and training to become certified, those hours count towards that. So this is the 35 hours that Patrick needed. He continues. Going through the pmcampus.com program allowed me to get certified within 3 months, taking the PMBOK 2000 approach. Let me share the process I followed. And then he has a very long list of what he did, how he did it, how he took it. For instance, he went through each of those modules. He took the 10 questions. Then he read the PMBOK chapter by chapter. He took 10 questions, the exit exam, to figure out his weaknesses. He read, he memorized, he absorbed the condensed note, etc., etc., etc. This long list here, to me, pretty much boils down to the following statement. The PMP exam takes a lot of effort, self-study, and discipline. So this is kind of what I take out of this particular section here of his feedback. You really have to want to do this. Then he goes on. I found that this approach and pmcampus.com guided me correctly towards my goal. PM Campus practice exams are very realistic, both in their content and in the feel of the testing environment. All my training, he says, took place after hours while on the road or during the weekends, between flights and to and from my work sites. A major part of my success was the support of my significant other. Without her support and understanding, I would not have been able to commit the time required. And I can heartily support that. It was exactly the same with my wife here. He goes on, taking the certification had a number of interesting side effects. For example, it renewed an interest in leadership that dated back to my years in the military and that prompted me to become a project management evangelist in my company. All right, that's pretty much his feedback here. So we heard from Dale 2 weeks ago that he did it with a local chapter. Patrick here did it with an online e-learning seminar. 2 completely different approaches, and both are now PMPs. All right, so much for the listener feedback. Let us now move on to the helpful resources and PM news. I have 4 helpful resources for you today, and all are focusing on PMOs. Of course, we're starting out with the PMI's PMO specific interest group, and I'm giving you a link on my blog to their website. Here's what they say about their vision. To be the leading professional community supporting program management advancement through innovation and thought leadership. All right, so if you are in PMO, if you work in a PMO, and you are not yet a member of the PMO SIG, my personal opinion is become a member. They're really giving good value for the $20 money that you pay every year. And I think a couple of weeks ago I also gave a helpful resource towards their mailing list. That's also a good thing to get onto. The second helpful resource is similar to the PMO SIG. It's a PMO LIG, a local interest group. One thing that the PMO SIG does is it creates local interest groups all over the world. And the link that I have for you here is for the Southern Ontario PMI chapter's PMO LIG. And they have an absolutely great collection of articles and presentations on their site. So check it out if you want to learn something about PMOs. Then next I have something worldwide. It's called the All PMO Network, and they have about a dozen websites or so in various countries for PMO specialists. And they write here about themselves. The All PMO value. All PMO provides a free information source to project professionals that manage today's complex issues. All PMO offers state-of-the-art project management value for anyone practicing project management. When you need the experts, All PMO also provides consulting services. Alright, so it is quite clearly a website that is, of course, behind a business, but there's a lot of good free information for you to find as well. The final helpful resource is once again 10-Step, but this time I'm taking you to Brazil, to the PMO Step Brazil. 10-Step is available in so many different languages that yes, you can also get everything in Portuguese. So if you are in Brazil or in Portugal, check out PMO Step Brazil and see what they can offer to your Portuguese-speaking PMO. Yeah, that's about for the helpful resources today. Let us now move on to the news. I have 3 news items for you today. The first one is about women in technology and the PMI, who are going to do a discussion on leading in the midst of a crisis, lessons learned from Pentagon renovation program. And they're going to be featuring this at the March WIT Connect program. Here's what they write. Women in Technology today announced it is teaming with the Project Management Institute, Washington, D.C. chapter in a lively discussion on crisis management and how to improve your leadership and response skills. And the whole thing is going to go down on Tuesday, March 21st from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. in the Washington, D.C. area. So if you want to improve your leadership and response skills, go ahead and check this one out. The next news item is the fact that the 5th edition of the APM Body of Knowledge has been issued in the UK. And I'm personally looking forward to getting my hands on this one. I've done quite a few comparisons in the past, as you may recall, between the PMBOK and the APM BOK. And I've always said the PMBOK is extremely detailed, whilst the APM BOK is more of a high-level framework approach. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do here with this. Are they going to go more into detail, or are they not going to go into detail? We'll see once I get my hands on this one here. The third and last news item that I have for you today is an odd one. It is titled Vanuatu Project Management Boosts U20 Women's Team Morale. And this boils down to the fact that Vanuatu Project Management, an American company, has been sponsoring the under-20 women's football team in Vanuatu, I believe an island state, if I'm not totally mistaken. So, good idea for all you owners of project management companies out there. If you want to get noticed, sponsor a football team. I would like to introduce a new show segment to you today, and that is project management events around the world. I noticed there's a lot going on, of course, in training in project management, and I would like to feature a few of these events around the world for you every week if possible. And of course, you are more than welcome if you, your company, your PMI chapter, your professional chapter has an event happening that you would like to market around the world. Send it to me and I'd be glad to mention it here for you. Alright, the first one is, what else could it be? It's about PMOs, yes. It is building a next generation program management office and portfolio management. However, this is not just a single presentation, this is part of the PMI's Seminar World 2006. This presentation is given by Jack Dugal. He's an MBA and PMP, and he will be giving this presentation in 5 different locations throughout the United States: Anaheim, Orlando, Denver, Chicago, and Scottsdale, between March and November. So if you're interested in this, the Seminars World is touring, and it's a good thing to get your PDUs and education there. The second one is from the PMI Sacramento Valley chapter, PMI Wine Country chapter, and the PMI San Francisco Bay Area chapter. They are going to be doing their Northern California Spring Symposium 2006, and it has its tagline this year called Aligning with Business. So this is going to be from the April 9th to 11th in Sacramento. Finally, we're going to the UK, and we're going back to the APM Body of Knowledge, because on the 21st of March you can go to Yorkshire. APM Yorkshire and North Lincolnshire branch are going to have an event where they are going to have the presentation of APM Body of Knowledge 5th edition. That's going to be in Leeds. So if this is something that interests you, if you want to know about the latest on the APM Body of Knowledge, go check this event out. Yeah, and that's it for this week. For the helpful resources, the news, and new show segment here, project management events around the world. As always, if you want to read up on these, if you want to find these, there are links on pmpodcast.blogspot.com to all of these events. The Project Management Podcast's tip of the week comes to you this week from Thomas Weller. Thomas is a listener from Germany, and he sent this tip to us. Take the project manager off the critical path. Of course, he writes this in German, so as I'm reading this to you, I'm actually translating it at the same time, so pardon my stumbling here. Thomas is a trainer. And he says that in his seminars, he often asks the participants who is going to take over the responsibilities of those tasks that are on the critical path. And he says that almost all the time people answer, those are the responsibility of the project manager. And he says, even though this is what many companies do, this is one of the reasons why projects fail. Don't get me wrong, he says. People who work on the critical path, on tasks that are on the critical path, they have to be tough, they have to be able to deliver. But the project manager should not have any tasks assigned to him that are on the critical path. After all, look at it from this point of view. The critical path is the shortest path through your project. Once you have reached the end of the critical path, when the last task that is on the critical path is finished, your project is over. Alright, this means that every single task on the critical path is, well, critical, and it has to be finished on time. But what happens with the project manager? The project manager has other tasks that he needs to work on, or she needs to work on. on the project, mainly leading the project. And these tasks, you cannot always plan them. They may pop up at any given moment. And then these political tasks, these project leadership tasks have priority. And we're talking about writing status reports when someone needs them. An ad hoc status report that are required by upper CEOs, higher management. You need to react to emergencies. You have to react to your resources suddenly being ill. Or you have to go in and you have to communicate between people. You have to make sure that personalities don't clash. So if you're the project manager and you're working on a task currently that's on the critical path, and you suddenly have to go run off and kill a fire, well, there goes your critical path and your project will automatically be delayed. So, therefore, Thomas says, the number one task of the project manager is to manage to lead the project, and he should never have been given a task which is on the critical path. And then he ends it with kind of a funny note in my point of view, and he says, of course, this tip is not true when the project manager is the only resource on the project. So there you go, the Project Management Podcast's tip of the week, coming to you from Germany, from Thomas Weller. It is, take the project manager off the critical path. Dankeschön, Thomas. This week's background music of my tip of the week, or rather Thomas's tip of the week, came from Matt Thorpe. He is from the UK, and the song is called Make Me Understand. And as every week, this is provided by music.podshow.com. Alright, let us move on to the main section of the show. My list of trends in PMOs. As you may know, I have personally been involved in the setup of, as I always say, 2.5 PMOs in my career so far. And they're kind of a passion of mine, and I really enjoy discussing PMOs and working in PMOs as well. My current position is sort of in a PMO. Initially, when I started thinking about these trends, I started out by wondering, I wonder where PMOs are going. Are they going to go more towards a centralized model where the PMO is in one section only of a company, or is it going to be more of a decentralized function? And I came to the conclusion that both will actually happen in the beginning. This is very much depending on how your own company functions. The size of the company there plays a major part. I mean, we have large, medium, and small companies, and this is really where I draw the distinction here. Large companies are very likely going to have a centralized PMO. And within the large companies, there's going to be several versions again. You're going to have the ones that are completely centralized. You have the ones that have them regionally centralized. Or you're going to have them centralized by a division. Medium companies are likely going to have a centralized organization with decentralized project managers. So you have a PMO that manages the methodology, the templates, the oversight, the portfolio, etc., etc. But the project managers are not within the realm of responsibility of the PMO. So the project managers don't report to the PMO itself. And in small companies, I see more of a community of practice, where you have project managers getting together for an exchange of best practices and ideas. Maybe these project managers even create their own internal project management handbook, which they use in order to manage their projects. So rather decentralized approach of this all. In a sense, I see this so far as maybe trend 0 to start out with. Mostly because this is not really a trend, because this is today's reality. This is from my point of view how I see how PMOs are working today and how they're more and more going towards. This is already what happens in many companies. And I do call this my trend 0, however, because even though this is the way it is today, I see it growing more and more towards this model. Now, let's get into my list of 6 PMO trends that I have for you today. Number 1. Companies will require PMO experience and PMO certification. I checked out a few statistic websites, and amongst others there is jobstats.co.uk, on which you can clearly see an increased need for the skill set PMO in job ads. And also if you go to any other job sites, Monster, etc., and you look for PMO, you will find them. I have several search agents that are running on Monster in order, I'm always looking for my next job, right? And some of these search agents are PMO, and they constantly return results to me with PMO jobs in the area here. So companies will continue to put the word PMO into their job ads. Today, it's usually not required, like PMP required. It's usually PMO experience is preferred. And this is going to change. They're going to require PMO experience rather quickly. This is also going to put a lot of pressure on the norming bodies like the PMI or the APM and also the universities to define and offer some form of PMO certificates. I believe the PMI actually had some sort of a PMO certificate way back, but it kind of dropped, and there are only a few people out there who have this certificate, as a matter of fact. However, until this actually bites, until this PMO certification bites, and a large PMO experienced and certified workforce is available, what we're going to see is trend number 2. And trend number 2 that I foresee is an increased PMO consulting and outsourcing need or market, if you wish. What? Outsourcing a PMO? You mean like giving my PMO to another company and they run it externally? No. This is not what I mean. What I'm talking about is outsourcing the PMO during the setup. Today, finding the right people in the job market who have the senior level experience to set up a PMO is somewhere between difficult and impossible. What I foresee here in this trend number 2 is an increasing market for consultants. The market is huge already, but it's going to grow even larger. In order to support all sizes of companies, the large, the medium, and the small ones, in helping them set up a PMO that works for this company. So once again, not the cookie cutter approach, but a very focused development of a PMO for this particular company with a combined project team. You're going to have the external consultant who brings in the experience, and you're going to have the in-house core team that work together and develop the PMO with the outsourcer as the lead. In this way, the outsourcer, or the consultant if you wish, and by the way, by outsourcer or consultant, I'm not just talking about the huge big 5 companies. I'm talking about one-man shops, two-man shops. That's easily doable. So they bring his or her knowledge of the fundamentals of a PMO into this marriage. Because consultants do this kind of thing for a living, and they've done it more than just 2.5 times like I have, they bring a highly professional approach to this whole building of a PMO. They bring best practices and they bring their experience. Thus, they are able to ramp up not just the PMO itself and build it for your company as an outsourcer, but they're also able to give that experience, to convey this experience to the other members on the team, the in-house core team. So they will actually teach them during the setup and bring them up to speed. And as time progresses, the outsourcer will step back more and more and more, while the in-house people are taking over the PMO. So a huge market here for outsourcing companies, for consulting companies in the PMO market to build PMOs for companies that need them. The third PMO trend on my list is improved methodologies and templates for everybody. This is actually a twofold prediction. First of all, because of the increased training and know-how of PM personnel, let's go back to the first one, right? PMO experience, PMO certification, and also the training that people will receive because of external consultants coming in and helping PMOs. So because of this increased training and know-how that is going to be all-encompassing the project management world, you will see a much more knowledgeable approach towards development and methodologies, best practices and templates within a PMO. So they're going to be much more intricate, more user-friendly, more applicable to each and every company, and less red tape, but supporting the actual processes that the project managers have to go through, that the business has to go through. Now that's the first portion of this prediction. And the second portion of this prediction is, if you look around the web, you will notice that there are a handful of free and also pretty complete methodologies available that you can download today. They're okay, but they're not superb. As more and more of consultancies are going to be entering the PMO field, the PMO building market, they are going to want to make most of their templates available for free. Well, why do they want to do that? Because as you begin using their templates, you start to understand their methodologies, how they work, and this is going to allow them to get their foot into the door, to get their name into the marketplace, and then begin selling their expertise to you in helping you set up your PMO. So both of these items here are going to lead to my third prediction, that we will have many more improved methodologies and templates available for everybody out there. My fourth trend prediction is that PMOs will be replaced by portfolio management. Now, this is a very interesting trend that I see here lately. Everybody seems to be talking about portfolio management. Portfolio management systems, or also portfolio project management systems. Now, this is interesting to me because the way I originally got into establishing PMOs was because the supermarket I was working for at the time needed a project portfolio. A list of what are the projects that we're doing in order to align those with the corporate goals and everything that's behind the usual project portfolio. Well, we went ahead and didn't just build a portfolio, but we built the PMO around it. And with the current and sudden interest in portfolio management, it seems to me that I have come full circle, back to where I started. So I went from portfolio establishing to building PMOs, and now everybody's suddenly building portfolio management systems, portfolio project management systems. It seems like a full circle. In my view, however, even though I said PMOs will be replaced by portfolio management, I think this trend will not last for long. And then people will begin to realize that portfolio management is really just one main function of a good PMO. So the trend should really read, PMOs will be replaced by portfolio management until it's replaced by PMOs again. My fifth trend is that every company will have a PMO department. This is a little bit further down into the future than just the next 2 or 3 years. This is way, way down the future. Let's go back 40 years. 40 years ago, computers were a part of finance or any other department within your company that had the need for large capacity of number crunching. Slowly, more and more departments within the company realized the benefits of computers, and every company began to use them until we ended up with today's situation where almost every company has an IT department that is vital to its business. The same thing is going to happen with PMOs. Today, some PMOs are part of IT, infrastructure, information technology, and some are an administrative arm of the CEO, the CFO, or CTO. There is no clear-cut and accepted way of having a PMO established in a company. As the understanding of a PMO's importance grows in the business world, PMOs will slowly move from their, let's call it almost shadow life today, into their needed and required existence as their own department or their own division. Now, the driver behind this is going to be management theory. Let me repeat that. Management theory, not project management theory. What I expect is going to happen is that the universities and their business administration departments will at some point begin to realize exactly the value of the PMOs. Once this happens, you will begin to see a drift towards integration of PMOs into the general business practices, into the general business administration. So you're going to have a finance department, a marketing department, an IT department, a PMO, etc. A PMO will just be a department like any other. And once this has happened, I'm very glad to see that all those of us who said that a PMO is valuable, a PMO is one of the most important functions in a company, all of us who said that are going to be vindicated. So much for number 5. Here in my trend list, that every company will have its own PMO department. Now, finally, my 6th trend is that the list of trends in PMOs will continue. Like me, many people will start to think and begin to think about what's the future going to hold for PMOs? Where are PMOs going to go? What is it going to look like in the future? And these people, like me, I hope, are going to start pointing the way. They're going to start thinking outside the box, and they are going to change PMOs for the better. So, there you have it. My predictions of the 6 trends in PMOs. Trend 0, if you wish, that there really is no trend, at the moment at least, whether or not PMOs are going to be decentralized or centralized. Trend number 1, the companies will require PMO experience and PMO certification. Number 2, increased PMO consulting and outsourcing for establishing a PMO. Number 3, the improved methodologies and templates for all. Number 4, PMOs will be replaced by portfolio management until they're replaced by PMOs again. Number 5, every company will have its own PMO department. And number 6, lists like this one, trends in PMO, are going to be very prolific in the future. We are ending today's show with a review of yet another new podcast on project management. Yep, they are absolutely mushrooming out there. The name and also the producer of this podcast is PMI Information Systems SIG. And this SIG writes about themselves The PMI IS-SIG is the Information Systems Specific Interest Group of the Project Management Institute. The members of PMI IS-SIG come from a broad range of industries, but all share a common interest in the professional practice of project management for information systems projects. And they say about the podcast that it is a discussion of topics relating to project management, program management, PMO, and other topics specific to the management and execution of technology-based project, that is to say, information technology and information systems. All right. The podcast itself is hosted by Peter B. Nickel. He is a PMP and a CSMBB. He is the Director of Marketing, Promotions and Corporate Website Development of the IS-SIG. So far, they have produced 5 episodes. The first 4 are 3 to 8 minutes long, and the 5th is a real long one. It's 1 hour and 8 minutes long. The first one is titled, Why Join the PMIS-SIG? Well, let's listen into this one for about a minute.
Hello and welcome to the PMI Information Systems Specific Interest Group podcast. My name is Peter Nickel, Director of Marketing, Communications, and Corporate Website Development, and I want to be your guide as I walk you through what are some of the great values we provide as a SIG for you as a potential member. So first off, who are we? Well, we're a group within PMI that provides specific information to IS and IT professionals that focus around management in technology areas. So who are we trying to reach? Well, we're trying to reach project managers, developers, vice presidents, and executives in many different areas. We have 15,000 members worldwide, spanning over 85 countries.
Peter continues the first episode by listing all of the benefits that the IS-SIG offers to its members. He does that so well, in fact, that at the end of listening to this, I was really motivated. I wanted to join this group. So this is really a motivating little gem that he produced in the first instance here. The second and the third podcasts are then both readings of articles which Peter published earlier, and they're called Moving Transactional Costs by Enabling Your Team and Transitioning Successfully into a Project. These articles are okay, I especially like the second one, and give good advice. The fourth podcast is titled, Can You Do Your Boss's Job? And in this one, he discusses the benefits of volunteering, the benefits that volunteering has to your career. This particular episode is, of course, clearly targeted at you, the listeners out there, and trying to motivate you to become an IS-SIG volunteer. While he's extremely motivating in his first podcast where he talks about why you should join the SIG, I didn't really feel motivated to start volunteering for them after this fourth episode. Finally, the fifth episode is the audio portion of this month's episode of the IS-SIG's webinar titled Sarbanes-Oxley Fundamentals, presented by David Correll. Well, at least that's what the tag, the label says when you download it. When you listen to it, it is introduced by David, and he tells us that the webinar is presented by Dennis Boland on a completely different topic than what the label says. The topic is Building Project Management Centers of Excellence, a guide to getting started. So something must have really gone wrong when Peter, who produces the podcast, was labeling this show. Nevertheless, this topic fits, of course, absolutely perfectly into today's theme of my show here, PMOs, because in this fifth episode, Dennis is giving a sound discussion of PMOs, albeit a bit monotone. My verdict? I am absolutely ecstatic to see that the IS-SIG has decided to start a free podcast. This is great for all us project managers out there who like to use this medium here to learn about project management. The podcasts are also a great medium, of course, for the SIG itself to find new members. And I'm hoping very much that the SIGs are jumping onto this and are producing more and more podcasts. That will be really great. However, what is missing from the IS SIGs podcast is the IS, the information system. So they talk about the SIG, but they don't talk about the IS. I would have expected a much stronger focus on IS projects. After all, that's what the ISIG is all about. That's their bread and butter. Nevertheless, so far this is a good series of podcasts with sound advice for all of us. If you want to subscribe to this, go to my blog. I have a direct link to iTunes for you. That's it for today. Thank you very much for listening. If by any chance as you listened you thought, my God, is that rain that I can hear in the background? Then you're probably right. As I have been recording this podcast today, it's been pouring outside. So you may hear some pitter-patter, pitter-patter, pitter-patter in the background. Well, since I have been so bad lately with delivering promised topics for the following week, I am going to be rather vague this week in telling you what's coming next week. So what I will tell you is that we will have some kind of project management topic in the next show for you. As always, you can find us on the web at pmpodcast.blogspot.com or send your emails to pmpodcast@gmail.com. And when you write, please tell me where in the world you are writing from. And finally, we have this. If you tinker with a project long enough, it will eventually fail. With that, learn from the mistakes of others. Because before you start a new project, try to get your hands on a few case studies, both good ones and bad ones. And you usually learn a lot more from the bad ones, especially because you can't live long enough to make all these mistakes yourself. Until next time.